Episode 145, John F. O'Donnell. John F. O'Donnell is a comedian, TV host, and mental health advocate. We've been friends since the Redacted Tonight days. Those were simpler times when people genuinely believed that left-wing comedians were Russian spies. Somehow, things have gotten crazier. Please welcome to the show, John F. O'Donnell. What's up, everybody? For everyone in Edinburgh, Scotland, or anyone going to Edinburgh, Scotland for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I will be there with my new stand-up hour, Anti-Fascist Pasta Night, August 6th through 30th at 3:45 p.m. each day, August 6th through 30th at Westport Oracle. I'm part of the Free Fringe, so no need to grab tickets in advance. Just show up, and I will see you there. Again, that's August 6th through 30th. You can get all details and information at my website, ronplacone.com. And Left at Wall is out now. You can watch it for free on Tubi, and it's on YouTube free with ads as well. I think you just got to be logged in to do that, but yeah. Left at Wall, YouTube free with ads, and free on Tubi. It's on a bunch of other platforms as well. It's on Apple, it's on Amazon, it's on Google Play, it's on Xbox, it's on Hoopla. I like Tubi and YouTube free with ads because it's free there. So please check out Left at Wall. Enjoy an anti-capitalist comedy about family. Peace. John F. O'Donnell, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, dude. Good to see you again. Fun times at that show in LA. Yeah, it was a good time. It's cool to see.
Yeah, that was really fun. I feel like it was, it's nice when folks come out to see you so you can do exactly what you want to do creatively on stage. I mean, I do that anyway, but it's nice when it's particularly well received,
Yeah, it's nice when everybody knows what they're in store for sometimes.
Yeah. It was good to see, some redactivists, folks who were fans of Redacted Tonight, the show I was on with Lee Camp and some other folks. So that was nice to see some of them come out and, to be able to talk about National Security Presidential Memorandum 7.
Yes.
AKA, common premise, AKA the Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence Directive, and just attempt to make that funny,
Well, let's start at the beginning. So where are you from originally?
I am from Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Jersey boy.
What part of Jersey?
Well, I was born in Jersey City, lived in Bayonne till I was 10, and then moved to a town called Rockaway, which is more suburban New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't Rockaway Beach, or was it?
No, it was the considerably less cool Rockaway that the Ramones certainly did not write a song
they didn't.
about.
They don't have a song about that one. All right.
No, it's near a mall.
Okay.
So that was its big claim to fame. It was near a mall. Well, it was nice enough. I lived across the street from like a ball field and basketball courts and a park and stuff like that,
So what were some of your interests growing up? Like what was like, were you a sports guy? Were you just kind of like migrated to creative things, or what was the anatomy of a childhood John F. O'Donnell?
I played some sports. I played soccer. I never played on like teams for basketball, but I played like recreational basketball. And yeah, that's what I did. Oh, I got into tennis too. I really like playing tennis. And, but I guess I was always interested in doing comedy. Like I always wanted to be a comedian ever since I was a kid. Like I liked how it felt socially and conversationally to make people laugh. So there was that initially. And then, when life started kicking me in the teeth here and there, I found that I could process that stuff through comedy. So those two things together really solidified it for me that I was like, I gotta give it a shot.
How was life kicking you in the teeth? Like when did
Well,
start there?
I mean, just like whatever, bullying shit in high school, and then like painful acid trips. And then also, developing bipolar disorder, having these manic episodes and these depressive episodes. That was a lot of processing a lot of intense emotions and a lot of pain. Honestly, I've been doing well for a number of years now, but it's more pain than I would ever wish upon even my worst enemies. Well, maybe some of them, but it's been a lot. Bipolar 1 disorder is not an easy thing to deal with, but I'm very grateful that I've gotten, on the other side of it. And I think the byproduct of it is, you can go maybe one of two ways, where you can become really embittered and have a hardened heart, or you can go the other way and hopefully keep an open mind and an open heart and cultivate some pretty high empathy and sympathy and compassion receptors, hopefully,
So when did, obviously like mental illness is something that you really approach a lot in what you do, which is awesome and, inspiring to people. How did that find its way into your life first? Like when did things start for you with the bipolar disorder? Like, has it always been there, or when did you become aware of it? Like give me kind of the timeline.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I had my first episode when I was 19 years old in the fall of the year 2000. And I was in school. I was a sophomore in college, and I had this manic episode. It's weird. Like, I remember it almost being like this spontaneous moment. I describe it in one of my jokes, where I talk about how it felt like the unconscious content of my mind was flooding into my conscious mind, and this was allowing me to perceive all of the energy of the oneness of life. But because I only had a Western monotheistic framework to understand the universe, my ego became completely unhinged, and I thought I was the second coming.
Mm.
And then I proceeded to spin out for a number of months and just be really manic, have just really grandiose thinking, delusional thoughts, messianic thinking, all sorts of stuff like that. Alienated myself from all my friends and family, from all my friends in school. My family had to come pick me up, bring me back home, and then they brought me to a psychiatrist. That's where I got diagnosed with the bipolar 1 disorder diagnosis, and I was completely in denial. Like, some folks find it to be a relief when they get a diagnosis because they know what's going on with them, but for me it was like a death sentence. And I just tried to outrun it for many years. I looked into all sorts of alternatives of what it could be. You look into Eastern wisdom and you see it's like an evolution of consciousness. I'd be like, oh, let's go with that. That sounds way better than chronic mental illness. So yeah, it took me a long time to really get with the program, so to speak, and make my mental health central to my life. There was just a number of episodes, a number of hospitalizations, and I would just try to keep outrunning bipolar disorder, determined to try to just make it as a comedian, whatever that means. And I was just scared that if I was medicated, that I wouldn't be able to be creative anymore. But now for me, medication is part of the picture, and because I'm on the right combination, and I do feel very creative, and my energy level is good. So if I could just maintain this balance, which I have now for almost 6 years, I'm pretty grateful for that.
So what was the episode like for you, like when you were 19 years old? I mean, first of all, where were you at the time? Like you said, your parents had to come get you.
Yeah, I was in college in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay. Yeah. What made you pick University of Michigan? Lovely institution. I have family out there.
Honestly, it was like probably the best school I got into. It was an opportunity that I had to go there, so I took it, and it just turned out that Ann Arbor was one of the most liberal, progressive, lefty places in the country. Like I do attribute my eyes being open to empire and to like the real history of our country. To me going to school there. And it wasn't just from what I learned in the school. It was also from who I interacted with in the town. Because there's a lot of interesting people that sort of live in Ann Arbor as well. And I was tapped into that. And yeah, my political awakening started there. I don't know if that would have necessarily happened at other schools, maybe. But yeah, it's like I learned about a people's history in the United States. I learned about Bill Hicks. I learned about Noam Chomsky, um, who's now a major disappointment. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, and I took it really personally. I was like, oh, I got lied to about our history growing up. Like they lied to me. This is ridiculous, so I got really angry about all that stuff, and then yeah, I took it real personally, and then
No,
I
that's
kind of
awesome. I mean, I know we've talked about this before off mic, but I went to Indiana University, which, Bloomington is a pretty lefty town as well. Not quite known to be as lefty as Ann Arbor, but a pretty lefty town. So I had a similar awakening, and yeah, the school and community had a big thing to do with that because Iraq was going on, and people were out protesting the war, and I knew the war was wrong. And then I learned more about how wrong it is and how long we have been, doing what we've been doing to the world, and, people's history crept in, and, similar stuff. And then it was just sort of off to the races. So what was, the episode itself, like what, I mean, you mentioned like grandiose thinking, like what was sort of like a day to day like for you? Like how functioning were you? Were you able to go to class, or were you just like kind of spiraling?
Well, I definitely was not going to class consistently. I was spiraling. I mean, this first episode, I'll tell you more about it, but sadly, it was not my last episode, not even close, and it wasn't my worst episode either. It wasn't my longest episode. But yeah, I was just like, acting weird, and I mean, a culmination is that I thought I was like this spiritual leader, so I was in the Hindu studies department of my university, and I saw this poster on the wall that was promoting the 50th birthday party of this like prominent Hindu woman. She was like a spiritual leader in the community. And I was like, oh, this woman definitely wants me to go to her birthday party. You know what I
Oh
mean?
no. So did you show
Yeah.
up?
I showed up at the birthday party. I drove there. I got my friend Heather to let me borrow her car. I drove there. It was in a Hindu temple. There was like 100 people in there dressed beautifully. I was not dressed beautifully. And I was just like bawling my eyes out. I was overwhelmed with emotion to connect with this person. And then I saw her dancing on this raised platform with her family. I ran over to the base of the platform. I took my shirt off. I went into like a bridge pose on all fours. Felt like all the energy of the universe was flowing in and out of my body. It was like a total trip. This guy came up to me, pulled on my arm. He's like, "You can't be here." I remember I said, "The birthday girl wants me to be here." And for whatever reason, he went away.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and then really the next thing I remember from that is that the prominent Hindu woman actually invited me to sit down and eat dinner with her and her family, which was incredibly sweet.
Yeah.
But then she goes, "I believe that Krishna sent you to me as a gift for my 50th birthday." Oh
Whoa.
no. That's like insanity validating information right
Oh
there.
no. Yeah. So what was your reaction to that?
I was like, well, yeah, I mean,
How
yeah,
was
of
how was the
course.
rest of dinner?
What I remember is that I ate dinner and then I left, and then I was running out of gas, and I had to borrow money I had to ask somebody for money for a gallon or two of gas on the way back so I could make it back to Ann Arbor from Dearborn, Michigan. That's what
Do
I
you think
remember.
do you think they realized what was going on with you, or do you think they do you think it's because sometimes like you're taught to sort of like engage the person so that they don't, like spiral worse, or
Honestly, I mean, that's not the type of engagement you do to de-escalate.
okay, that's the wrong type.
I think she believed that.
Okay.
I
Wow.
think both of us were dealing with some, maybe delusional thinking there. Sorry, Hindu religion.
What's the right type of de-escalation in a situation like that?
It's very tough. When someone is acutely manic, it's really tough. I mean, you don't want to argue with them, but at the same time, when someone's acutely manic, even there's like no good solutions. Like probably like the least bad solution sometimes is for them to get hospitalized. Um, and those places are not great, but sometimes that really is what needs to happen to get somebody, sedated, put on some heavier medication to kind of break the mania. Um, and yeah, and that's tough to do because it's understandable that there should be rights in place where people can't just be wantonly thrown in hospitals, you know? But it's tough. That's why it's very important in between episodes to get a mental health plan in place, a robust mental health plan in place. And that includes, uh, in addition to, say, for me, medication, sobriety, sleep, good sleep, um, friends and support from friends and family, psychiatrists, talk therapy, creative outlet, exercise. It also is, it's also good. Like one thing I did was like to connect friends and family with psychiatrists, like over through an email chain so they can get in touch with that person to kind of help, maybe help facilitate a hospitalization if necessary, things like that.
Okay. So you were able to get back to Michigan safely. And then what was the anatomy of like when did your parents come get you? Like how much more time passed?
I believe that I started getting manic in late September into October of that fall semester of my sophomore year, and then they came out maybe like a month or so later, and then I remember going back to New Jersey, falling into a depression, but I still had like some delusions during that depression, like I thought certain music was specifically about me. Um, like, and this is silly, but I thought that like not even Bob Dylan, Jacob Dylan, the Wallflowers album Breach, there was like a
Okay.
couple songs that I thought he was talking about me.
Wow.
Which is funny, which is like
Was it any of the
my
hits? 'Cause those are the only things I know. I only know the
no,
hits.
of course. No, it wasn't even the hits. This was like a deep cut album. Like it actually, I mean, I'm not a particularly big Wallflowers fan, but this album Breach actually does have a couple really good songs on it. I'll defend that album.
All right.
But I used to try to do a joke, but maybe it was too mean to Jacob, but it was like not even Bob Dylan, his considerably less prolific son, Jacob Dylan. Like my delusional tastes in music are really,
It's
mediocre.
all the wallflowers. That's the
Y-
secret.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That is
It's a
so
little
random.
embarrassing.
I mean, the
Yeah.
difference is a banger. I like that one. That
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. I don't
I
even
only know
know.
the singles. I only know the singles.
I'm not really even familiar with the whole Wallflowers canon.
Yeah, I don't think many people are. I think
Yeah.
they just sort of happened, then it was over. Um,
Yeah. He's got
didn't
a
he
nice
make that
voice.
statement? Yeah, he's got a great voice. Well, didn't he make a statement at one point where he basically said, "Well, you don't know which one of us is going to be the best songwriter when all's said and done, me or my dad," and it didn't play well with people. Didn't that happen at some point? Am I
Oh,
remembering?
honestly, I have no idea. That's ridiculous.
Well, I think at some point, like he didn't even say I'm the better song. He just said like, well, you don't, I'm not done yet, basically. Which I don't know. I mean, I get why that wasn't well received, but it's also like I don't know. Nobody wants to live in their dad's shadow, so I kind of
Yeah,
empathize with the guy a little bit, I guess.
for sure. And that's a big shadow, man.
Yeah, no kidding, just a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
so when did you like after this, and you're back in New Jersey? When did you really start like accepting the bipolar disorder? Because you said you had like a long like what are we talking like time wise?
I would say we're talking more than 15 years, honestly.
Wow. So what
Yeah.
was it just like in between episodes? Like what do you think was going
Well,
on?
I acknowledge that I had it. I acknowledge that I had it well before that, but I mean, I guess full acceptance. I mean, like I had a really extended, very public episode in New York City throughout a good portion of 2008. Like I started in April 2008, and I wasn't hospitalized until November of 2008. And so that was rough. And it was basically like a nightmare of mine came true that like, I would be trying to establish myself in this New York City comedy scene, and I would have like a public episode and burn all these bridges. And that's exactly what happened. Um, so when I came back finally in like the fall of 2009, after an equally long 9-month depression, I decided that if I was going to be able to make a comeback here, I was going to have to address everything that happened head on. Like I wasn't going to brush one speck of dirt underneath the carpet. I was going to, it really did force me to dig deep to make very painful and personal things funny. Ultimately, I think it made me a considerably better comedian by figuring out how to make that really personal stuff funny. And, because I'd been, giving out I was always very kind to people leading up to that before I got sick. There was a lot of goodwill for me to come back. So people were very supportive, which I'm, very grateful for. So I did start addressing on stage and on podcasts publicly starting in like the fall of 2009, early 2010, my struggles with bipolar disorder and talking about it. So I did do that. So I acknowledged it, but I didn't make my mental health central in my life and do everything to stay well. Like I wouldn't be completely medication compliant. Like if I felt like a medication was sedating me in any way, I wouldn't take it. I was still, drinking. I wasn't smoking weed because I know that's a big trigger for me. And I never smoke weed until I've gotten manic. And then like a flip switches and I just crave smoking it. But yeah, so I was very public about it then, and I know for a fact talking about it publicly started helping people, but I wasn't really making my mental health central in my life. So I would continue to have these episodes every couple of years, some more severe than others. And honestly, it took until like I would say into 2017, like when some really bad or 20. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know. In those years, I was starting to take it more seriously, but unfortunately, I exploded a really important relationship with somebody that I was living with my, my significant other. And, ultimately I, lost the job on Redacted Tonight. I actually had an episode there in late 2016 into the beginning of 2017. And because of the FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, I was able to keep my job. I was able to leave for 3 months unpaid, but they couldn't fire me due to like the Family Medical Leave Act, which is a good thing. And then I came back and continued to do good work on the show, even though when I got through that. But then in 2019, it happened again, and the FMLA was in place. But just by the time that was running out, I wasn't ready to come back. I was pretty burnt out. I did ask for an additional month. They did not grant that to me, which is totally fair. And I think it was time for me to leave the show anyway. I was on the show pretty much for 5 years,
Yeah, no, I remember when you were going through a hard time during that era, like in 2017 and then in 2019. You left a couple like very long, rambly voice messages on my cell phone.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, John's not okay.
Yeah,
because I didn't know that about you until then.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No apology necessary. I'm just like unpacking it with you. I mean, I was just people were worried.
Of course, and rightly so. And yeah, but I'm optimistic, and my psychiatrist is optimistic that stuff is. I'm on the other side of that now. So it's like for me, being a mental health advocate, doing my volunteer work. I just got into a program where I'm going to get trained to be a peer support specialist, which you can become part of a mental health treatment team in some capacity, inpatient, outpatient, full-time, part-time, but you have to have lived experience, be in recovery. So basically the volunteer work that I've been doing, it just kind of would expand upon that, and be a job, So I want to do that part time as I continue to pursue, doing stand up and comedy and stuff. So that's sort of the next chapter.
So, let's fill it a little bit more. How did you cross paths with Lee at first? Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight, who's also been on this show. We've all collaborated a good bit, but how did you all first come in contact?
Well, we knew each other way back in the day in New York, when we were both starting out in New York. And we weren't super close, but we always liked each other's comedy. And then we had a mutual friend in Nagin Farsad, who's a comedian. And Lee was looking for people to submit an audition to be correspondents on Redacted Tonight. And I guess I didn't immediately come to his mind or anything like that, but she suggested me because she knew I was, pretty politically knowledgeable or aware, at least to an extent. And so he asked me to submit. The submission initially was like writing a few like satirical paragraphs about a couple news stories. And I did a good job with that. So he called me in to work on like a desk segment with him. And then we did like a screen test for that. And that went well. And and then there was like a callback for it. And then I got offered the job. Kind of had like a quick manic episode right as I was supposed to be being onboarded. I almost didn't get to do the job, but it worked out. And thank goodness it did, because we did some really good work on that show,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I miss it, but.
Yeah, I did too, actually. So yeah, and then me and Lee became, good buddies working on the show together for sure. And just being in DC together, being these pretty radical leftists in DC doing this show in the belly of the beast, as he calls it, the political
Right.
nerve center, as I like to say, was fucking wild. I mean, edginess wise, I'm maybe like a 5 or 6 in New York, but like we're at like 8 or 9 level in DC.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, what was
So-
that like for you, like just living in DC and being in the belly of the beast?
Well, there was the comedy community was good, and the political folks that I was around, it was a tight-knit group because there just wasn't that many of us with that sort of political perspective. But it was really fun, to be honest. There's things about living in DC that totally suck. There's all these vampirous, social climby, political climby people around,
Sure.
at any given bar or restaurant you're in, there could be somebody who's actively hurting the world. But I mean, it was great. I mean, we were on the network. We were overlapping when Breaking the Set, the Abby Martin show, was still on the network, so to become close with her and hang out with her was such a gift. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Like Rania Kalik, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate was around, Anya Parampil, and it was, and a lot of other great people. And so it was cool being around this sort of these independent journalists, and that are few and far between. I mean, Chris Hedges had a show on the network.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I met Jesse Ventura. Tom Hartman was doing great work, and he had Dick Gregory on. I met Dick Gregory. It was wild. So it was a great experience. We always just wished it was in New York instead of DC.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Well, what was it like for you? Were you still on the show when, like the FARA Act was enacted and they completely just ended RT America? Like, were you there then? Because like the timeline's a little foggy for me too, but I remember when that happened.
Yeah, when the network had to register as foreign agent and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it eventually just ended.
Well, I was there for the registration of foreign agent stuff.
Okay.
And then, I remember some of the journalists who were kind of more They were journalists, but in between journalists and just like reading teleprompter, more news side of things. Some of them left because of it, some didn't. And Yeah, I stayed on. And then when the show totally folded and ended, I'd already left a couple of years before that.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember when that happened where they were just like, "Hey, RT America is just over." Because
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I didn't formally have any involvement, but I would do like some of the regular panel stuff. They had like that studio in Los Angeles that I was at somewhat, like somewhat regularly, not super regularly, but somewhat regularly. And then Lee's show and you know everyone else you mentioned, and just seeing it all completely go away, and it was like, oh man, something like did you get the vibe like, oh man, things are getting really ugly? Because like I did. I mean, they were already really ugly, but I was just like, oh, this is another level.
Yeah. I mean, it all started with that, when the 2016 election was over and Trump won, the establishment Democrats, instead of looking inward and asking themselves why they lost to an orange-faced game show host con man, they pushed out the Russiagate narrative.
Yeah.
And once they pushed out the Russiagate narrative, the network's amplification was reduced considerably. Redacted Tonight, which was going, clips were consistently going viral throughout that 2016 election, certainly in the primary between Bernie and Hillary. The views just fell off the cliff, and we just kept our head down, continued to do good work, but the show never reclaimed the popularity that it had before that. And then it was just like death by a thousand cuts, where the show was being, probably the whole network was probably being suppressed on social media platforms, and then with certain like markets that they were able to be on television, those things were being restricted and cut. So it was just getting strangled. And then, there were people in Congress talking about, getting rid of it. I think Maxine Waters was very vocal about that. And Yeah, it just started getting suppressed all over the place. And it's like, you know, it's I mean, it was telling the truth about the empire every day. I mean, who wants to hear that if you're part of the empire? You know what I mean? You
Well,
know.
I think we all kind of knew, that Russiagate was A, going to lead to nothing as far as Trump is concerned, and B, just be weaponized against the left. And that is exactly what happened. Like to the T,
Yeah.
exactly what happened. And it's just like, but the same thing could happen again very easily, and probably will. And it's just it's kind of crazy to like wrap one's head around, because I feel like, man, there really was an era where there was, dare I say, a little bit of hope in the air, and then it's like everything that could have gone wrong did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that 2016 primary, like the feel the burn time was there was a lot of optimism there. There was a lot of energy there. And, in all likelihood, if if Bernie was able to get the nomination, he would have won, you know?
Oh yeah, I think so. And we'd be a lot better off than where we're at now. Things wouldn't be
Yeah.
perfect, but we'd be way better off than where we're at now. Uh, well, so getting back to mental health, looking at it contemporarily, when you see things like RFK talking about, getting rid of SSRIs and stuff like that, how do you respond to that?
I mean, it's just so absurd that somebody like that is in the position that he's in.
Yeah.
It's so disheartening. But I mean, I think that uh, my take on medication is that it's part of the picture for me. I think that's helpful for a lot of people. I also, at the same time, think that we may be an overprescribed to society. So I think that if it's helpful for folks, that's great. But I mean, the idea of some, of some top down sort of like propagandistic notion of trying to get people not to be able to take things that absolutely have substantively helped people is good. But I think that sometimes with medication, for me, it's part of the picture and it's part of the picture long term. I think for some people, that's also the case. I think for other people, it can be helpful for a time, but then they can do a number of lifestyle things so they can maybe wean off of it. That can happen. I know people where that's been helpful for them. But with the RFK stuff, it's really like cacistocracy shit where it's like rule by the worst.
Yeah.
So, it's just unfortunate.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, you and I have talked about this off mic, and I've been very vocal about. I mean, I think that guy is a eugenicist. I think he is one of the most dangerous people out there right now because I don't think the United States will ever recover public health wise from what he's done in just a year or two. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know if we'll ever fully recover from what he has done. And yeah, to just have this overarching approach that he has when he is, completely wrong about pretty much everything is just, beyond frightening. Well, do you are you worried that there could be a scenario where you're not able to get your medication anymore?
I know he's doing a lot of awful shit, but I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I'm not. I can't be.
Sure. No,
I am now, Ron.
Well, no, I was just curious, what, because I know you follow this stuff closely. So
Yeah. No, I don't think that. He's going to be able to pull it off. If only because the evil pharmaceutical companies wouldn't let it happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're still making money. It's not
there's too many competing, capitalist evil interests afoot. That's the thing that's such a fucking paradox about these psychiatric meds where it's like, yes, they're helpful, but why do they have to be administered by these evil entities that don't care if you live or if you die? You know, it's like, that's really a tough thing to kind of wrap your head around. And then another aspect of them too is most of the psychiatric medications, the scientists don't know the mechanisms that make the medication work.
Right.
So that can be frustrating for people to be like, oh, I'm just a guinea pig for this stuff. But I turned a corner on that. I'm like, yeah, but does it work though? Oh, it does. Well, then that's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah, absolutely. Like all of these things are, true and have their place. And I think that's why some well-intentioned people fall for, people like RFK, because they see him as some type of anecdote to big pharma. And it's like, no, he's not an anecdote to big pharma. He's just a eugenicist moron who has his own, set of self-interest and is incredibly corrupt in his own way. All of a sudden he has no problem with chemicals in the water. All of a sudden he has no problem with glyphosate, because his boss is cool with it. So, it's like, we live in a society where, issues are very complex and sometimes there are no good guys.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I tend to agree with you there, but I'm not worried about being able to get my lithium,
No, that's good. I mean, yeah, no, I was just curious. Like, I don't want you to be either, but
yeah, no. I mean, I think if anything, this big pharma will still be pumping out medications for us. I mean, I think unfortunately we're a very unhealthy society,
right.
And I'm now, let's get away from even psych meds, but just in general, we're not exactly centering preventative care.
Yes.
Culturally, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's the thing. It's like everyone kind of has a point. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, yeah, there is a great case to be made that we should be focusing way more on preventative care. Of course we should. And part of the reason we don't is because, well, there's no profit in that, you know. However, on the same note, that doesn't mean that all medications are bad. You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's, I don't know.
Exactly. And it's like, our food supply is poison. So there's that,
Mm-hmm. Yep. And getting worse.
Yeah. So.
Well, so when did you decide to like really approach this in your show and like build stand-up shows around your struggles? Like, give me some of the anatomy of all that.
Yeah, sure. Well, like I was saying, after that extended, very public bridge burning 2008 episode, when I came back in the fall 2009, 2010, I started addressing it, started talking about it in my stand-up, figuring out how to make it funny. And then I kind of continued on from there because it was like my comedy voice had changed. My comedy voice had been forced to change. I think I finally I'd been already been doing stand-up for about, 8 years or so by this time. So, I mean, I would get laughs, like I was a serviceable stand-up, but I think that this was like something coming out of the ashes, and it was like something was different now. And most of my material, almost essentially all of it, was not viable anymore when I came back. And yeah, I think it made me honestly funnier and more relevant. And so I was just pursuing that. And then I was also I guess for that, during that time, it was mostly stuff about bipolar disorder and then just other random bits and maybe a little bit of political stuff. But then it really started when I was working on Redacted. I started writing a lot of political stand-up as well. And then it just became a mixture of stuff about mental health and stuff about politics. So it would be basically like personal lived experience with bipolar disorder, talking about manic episodes and, as funny as I could be. And, silver lining, getting to be a comedian, having experienced that stuff. It's been, it's been a blessing, to be honest. And then just talking about, politics from a leftist perspective. And then sometimes being able to meld the both perspectives into the same bit, which has been really fun to do. Like, yeah, and then just continue with that. I released my first special in I recorded it like late October 2016, right before the election, but I was conscious of making all the material evergreen because I knew it wasn't going to come out right away. Mm-hmm. But that's a real mixture of political stuff and mental health stuff. And I'm really proud of that special. It's called The Manic Depressive Chocolate Fountain Operator, shot it at the DC Improv. And that was that. And then I've just moved forward with doing. Then when I left the show, I was a little burnt out on the political satire stuff. So I would say my next album is political for sure, but more mental health centric. And then now I'm like, holy shit, we don't even have time to be mentally ill anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Like, it's just, what a freaking time.
It's fucking crazy. I mean, it's like, let's just say what it is. It's like a wave of fascism rolling into our country. So we have to at least speak truth to power on any platform that we can. So now I'm just like, there's still some stuff about bipolar, but just now I'm writing political stuff, but I do tie it in with the bipolar stuff. Like, I do find that if I can talk about something, a political situation that maybe folks aren't aware of, and then I can turn it back on myself and have something self-deprecatory, that really helps undercut any sort of like self-righteousness, or it helps undercut just like the information dump of a bit, so to speak,
Yeah, no, totally, man. So, talking on the political situation for just a second, how do you think we can get out of this if we can?
This is it's so crazy that it's just my optimism is so deep in my bones. I don't even know. Maybe it's because my grandmother loved me so much. That might be it. But but I'm taking like a little bit of the long view, and maybe I'm totally naive, and and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But maybe this had to happen in a way, and it's easier for me to say from a relatively safe, privileged position for sure, because a lot of people are really suffering and people are dying. But maybe things had to get this bad in order to show how utterly inept the establishment corporate Democrats are. So to push back against this MAGA fascism. So maybe that insidious thing will fall and a real leftist movement will rise that actually can provide substantive quality of life for a lot of people in the country and can actually take hold as an alternative, a real alternative for people in this country compared to this, this MAGA project. So that's where my optimism is. I see it creeping up with DSA, with Zoran Mamdani being elected and the left flank of the Democrats winning primaries right now. I mean, will the midterms be rigged? Maybe. Will the next election be rigged? Maybe. But it looks like there is an appetite for some more principled leftist movements happening. And maybe things had to get this bad for the corporate Democrats to finally become obsolete, and because they're like a real cudgel against an actual left-wing movement happening, and their lesser of two evils may fall. But maybe the flip side of that, I don't know. It's like, now to a lot of younger conservatives or other conservatives, MAGA and Trump isn't cool anymore. So they're doubling down with this white nationalism stuff. So maybe it's going to be like white nationalism versus, actual leftists, and it will be more polarized. But holy shit, I hope our message is more appealing.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, in closing, tell everybody where they can find the specials, where they can learn more about you. Plug away.
Okay. Yeah, I have 2 specials on YouTube now. A new one that just came out. So just type John F. O'Donnell into YouTube, and you can find my new special. It's called Live at the Cobra Club, and that's on the Burn This Records label. You can also listen to it wherever you listen to stuff. So yeah, and then also my first special, The Manic Depressive Chocolate Fountain Operators, also on YouTube. So you can listen to both of those. You can join my newsletter if you want. It's jfodnews.com. And yeah, that'd be great.
John, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's great to reconnect with you, man. I'm so glad we got to do that show together, and I'm so happy to talk to you.
That was John F. O'Donnell. Check out all of his stuff. Check out the new album. Music for the 1000 podcast is provided by Andrew Saxon. Be sure to check out his podcast, The Bay Watching Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a 5-star review if you don't mind. And make sure you're subscribed, especially if you get this show on YouTube, because they unsubscribe people all the time. So make sure you are subscribed. And if you want to support the show on the sustainability end, please do over at patreon.com/Ron Placone. For you get what you can level, you get all kinds of cool perks. You get the 1,000 episodes before they're released to the public. I do patrons-only Zoom shows every month. So it's a really cool community that we got going on Patreon, and it's all for a give what you can level. You also get insider information on upcoming films and projects. So patreon.com/Ron Placone. All right, 145. We are getting closer. 145. We're almost at that 150 mark, which is another half century completed. Wild. All right. Catch you next week. Peace.